are your sweets, Makita
and Melanie.
And you're now tuned into Girl, What? Now, as we started off our first episode, we're going to start it off with the drink of the day. And today we're having...
Our tea is...
lemon ginger.
Lemon ginger. This lively tea offers wide-awake flavor without caffeine. It has a smooth lemon flavor with a piquant, lingering bite of ginger.
Delicious.
Yum, yum.
And perfect for the day. So, today we're going to talk about stereotypes. I found a Huffington Post article that said Black women artists tackle the dangerous stereotypes that have never defined them. And we're looking into stereotypes like Mammy, the Jezebel and Sapphire, to be specific. Interestingly enough, I actually, I took this hip hop class at FIU, and we actually explored a lot of it. And a lot of it was based on images that we see in the news and in media, as at that time targeting, the hip hop industry. And I thought it was really interesting. And when I kind of thought about different ideas and topics of discussion, you always, as a Black woman, as a Caribbean woman, you kind of go back into, thoughts of what does a society portray or view us as? And so I found this article. I thought it was really interesting. Let me go into some brief descriptions. It says something about the Mammy, a big, bossomed, jolly mother figure, and it's often framed as sexless, selfless nurturer. Then there's the Jezebel, an overly sexualized, promiscuous Black woman with a similar atrocious origins of stories. So those are just two of the stereotypes that they kind of highlight. And again, it's kind of like, I think it's one of those, how they view our culture. Myths and archetypes, and it's just kind of like the self-portrait of how they look at our culture in general.
And then they talk about the sapphire.
And the sapphire, they give me one moment. Do you have what the sapphire's description?
The sapphire, from what I remember that I read, was pretty much like the ideal woman, or the queen. I think what most of us strive to be. I can't find it.
So we're having a quick.
The sapphire is more like the matriarch of the Black community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The person that, the woman that kind of paves the way, or a pioneer, I guess.
So what I found was it's the sapphire was solidified in one of the shows, Amos and Andy. This was, I guess, a popular series on radio in the 1920s. They depicted the sapphire as a bossy, headstrong woman who was engaged in an ongoing verbal battle with her husband. And that the sapphires possess the emotional makeup of the Mammy and Aunt Jemima combined. Her independence and cantankerous nature placed her in the role of a matriarch. So, it's a little bit outrageous to me that a lot of these are negative views, and how they are, all characterizing the Black woman, essentially. It was a big piece in how this course that I had taken at FIU was all around how the minority, and I'm not just including necessarily Black. I'm also including other minority, Hispanics, and there are other Asian and Indian stereotypes all around. I think it's really just an important way to understand that there are prejudices and stereotypes out there in our community. And, we ought to kind of remind ourselves of that to, I guess, show something different.
Here's some more things that that people tend to think of us. Black women are always angry and argumentative. Black women don't want or need a man. That's interesting.
So far from the truth. I don't think that I'm argumentative at all. Do you?
I don't think, but I'm guilty. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm guilty. I would say, as a married woman, I have to catch myself. Especially a strong Black woman. It's a challenge.
Yeah. It is. I'm kind of one of those silent but deadly people where I don't want to get into an argument with you. I think that I don't want to waste my energy on, I don't like to give that negative energy out. So in me saying to myself that I don't want to give that negative energy, I don't want to engage in anything that's like me arguing. Yes, have I done it before? I did it, in years, when I was a teenager, early 20s, and I realized that it wasn't innately who I am. And I didn't want to give that off to other people because I didn't really like how I felt when someone was arguing and fussing and stuff with me. So I think I kind of see myself as a total opposite of an angry.
I think for me, I'm not an angry person, but the person that I do argue with is my husband, and it stems from me wanting something for him, my passion and wanting the best for him. It gets heated because I want him to feel what I feel.
Absolutely. I get it. Look, I'm the single girl.
But I'm working on it.
I'm the single girl, and I'm hoping that single status changes very soon.
Plug. This year, we are going to find.
Yes, this year.
God is going to bring.
God is going to bring.
It's your time, boo.
It is. I'm tired of being single. I mean, I'm a relationship girl, for sure. I just haven't found the right relationship for me.
It's coming, though.
And it's coming.
Here's another one. Wait, this one's interesting. Black women don't get along.
We get along.
We actually do get along.
Yeah. And we have another 290,000 sisters that we get along with, or at least have shared interests.
I think, but you know what? I really think, and I had to learn this, and this is my opinion. This is what has been working for me within the last 3 years, I would say. When you're younger, you kind of just befriend, whoever comes along your way. And then you try to build friendships, and eventually when you get out of high school, you kind of go your different paths.
Yes.
And then sometimes you come back together, but those are the friends that you develop in your childhood, and your mindset and your heart, which I kind of mentioned the last episode, is a little different. But what I've noticed is when you figure out who you are,
yes,
you kind of know what works for you and what doesn't. What type of people work for you and what type of people don't. And just depends on the person. For me, I'm so blessed to be around not the same type of people, but the same heart.
Yes. And I think most of my friends would say that Makita gets along with everyone. And that's true to a point. I try to surround myself with people that there are similar interests, but are folks that I look up to and that I respect, and that I am not going to be, I don't want to say embarrassed to be around, but you know what I mean. You don't want, I realized, I maybe not always realize this, but people will clump you into different categories based on the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah, that's true.
So I try and make conscious efforts. Listen, I mean, even women that I've known in my childhood that I know today, some who are very successful, others that are not so successful. And I see the good in all of them, and I still maintain relationships with all of them. But I think it's a strategic decision on who you want to give your time to and be around. And you know, it's a part of the building blocks of making consorted adult decisions, because again, we all evolve and we all change, and how someone used to be, 5, 10, 2 years ago they're not the same today. So I give everyone their chance of reprieve, but I do try and make a concerted effort in general, even with my family. Like, you don't have the choice of the family that you were born into. But you do have choices in a type of family that you want to grow with, and the family of sisters, a family of brothers, and mentors, and all of those people that you bring along the way. It just, for me, it's one of those things that, again, it's all in the concerted and constant efforts in like creating change for yourself.
Remember, Makita's the political one. I'm the cutthroat one. And I'm working on that. But me, this works for me because my mouth is not as finessed as Makita's. But that's why we mesh.
Yeah.
She balances me.
And vice versa. I mean, look, I think we're all a work in progress.
Yes.
And, going back to some of those stereotypes and how we were, and in some degree are still being portrayed, especially with the onslaught of reality shows. Oh, let me not get into the reality shows.
Hopefully we can talk about that a little bit tonight.
We'll talk about that. We'll probably touch on that a little bit later on in another episode. But, just how those stereotypes historically have just led to behaviors and systems that are out there today. And, I take that back to how I do not want to play into those stereotypes.
Okay, so on that note, we're going to end right there.
Great.
Make sure you tune in for June 25th at 10:30 p.m.
Live.
The episode that will deal with whether or not R&B is dead. We're going to be talking about giving our feedback about the show. And
we're going to have our first guest.
Yeah, we have 2 guests.
2 guests.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We have 2 guests lined up.
We have two guests lined up.
So after the BET Awards and after Power, y'all make sure y'all tune in.
Check in. Thanks for lending your ears, hearts, and minds to us. We'll be back. We're going to end this off on our verse.
On our verse. And that is Colossians 1:16. All things have been created through him and for him. So try to live your life with that in mind. Do everything for him, and it'll work out.
And these are your hosts, Makita
and Melanie.
And you've just tuned into Girl.
What?